Hey folks, welcome to another video. I've been meaning to put out this video for many months, but just haven't been able to find the time. As you can see with this beautiful landscape behind me, that's Pikes Peak, and we're in wonderful Colorado Springs. Moved in late December. It took a really long time to get everything moved into the apartment and make it feel like home, and get some time to film this video, especially with some things picking up with my job as well. But I'm super happy to be out here. Been waiting for a good day to film this. It's a little breezy, so hopefully the audio is not too bad. But we're gonna get right into it. We're gonna be showing you what's in my bag, also what's in my cart here. We're gonna jump into the putting putters. I'm using the same set basically I was using in that last in the bag video back in 2019. These are the Warlock Firms when they finally rebranded from doing their old soft, super soft to kind of called their super soft firm. This is what the old super soft would feel like for the most part. It's got a slightly different edge than some of the other Warlocks, but I find that it helps fight the wind really well, and I've been having the best success with these. I've switched to a few other different Warlock plastics throughout the past few years, but I find that I got to come back to these to have the most consistent results and the most confidence around the green. Got a good stack of 12 of them back in 2018 when I was over at Maple Hill. They got the Marshall Street Disc Golf. Marshall Street, you can see it there. The shop there, and they hold a bunch of gateways, so I was able to feel around a few different discs and pick up a big set of those. So anyway, moving into throwing putters. I'm still basically using what I was using back in 2019. Very similar to the Warlocks. I got a stack of maybe 15 of these. These are the hardest they make G9i plastic from Gateway. We got a real beat-in one here, so this is a super flip machine. You'll see them fly. I'll show some videos right after this. And then I got a pretty neutral flyer that also gets a good amount of flip. Mind you, we are at 6,000 elevation, so that does make a huge difference. So when I go back to sea level, this one would actually fly like this one does here. So I try to kind of keep this frozen in time. I'll bring it out for a tournament occasionally, but for practice rounds, I pretty much just use this and beat in the next in line, which is this one right here. And I have more, but these are the three that I think I could see myself using for probably the rest of the year. I don't really need a wizard to be too stable, as I'll just jump up to something more. So yeah, keep these out. I also have these softer blend of wizards. So if I'm ever looking for something to grab the ground, if I'm really worried about it sliding OB or something like that for a certain course, I might pull these out. But I find with the harder plastic, I have a more consistent release, and I'm able to hit the lines a little smoother. And they also beat in a little faster, which I like. Jumping up in speed, we got another class of discs here. I could say the approach discs. First and foremost, we have an old glow mortar, and these are great. This one's nice and seasoned in, so it goes pretty straight at sea level. But up here in Colorado, it's still got a pretty good amount of stability. But you can always really depend on that fade, even at sea level. It's just you might get a little turn out of it. Moving up from that, I like to throw this glow gator. So this is pretty much a beaded mortar, so it's going to fly a little bit more stable, and also I find that bead helps it grab the ground, just creates more friction when it does hit that surface. I rarely use this, but I got a Pro Gator, so this is kind of the in-between between those wizards, the stable wizard and the gator, so that's kind of cool. Then I've just been experimenting with this recently. This is a Justice. I forget what kind it is. I think Fusion Justice. It's a little bit more stable than the Gator, so I also find that the Justice goes a little bit further than the Gator, but it does have that consistent hyzer, and it also can skip a little bit more, so use it for some different shots, trying to work it into the bag, but it's a very trustworthy disc, so I do quite like that. I got mid-ranges here. So pretty much the only mid-range I've been throwing is the Prodigy M3. And I got one here that's semi-retired. This is the Velvet Underground die I did way back in the day. It's very, I want to say very flippy, but if you throw it hard, it definitely turns over to the right. Also feels pretty comfortable in forehand if you need anything that stays held over. But yeah, I pull this out time to time when I know I'm not going to lose it and I need something pretty flippy. Usually in the open, I don't need anything like that, but it's definitely there and a great one. And then from that original stack, I have one that's a little more neutral, and then one that's pretty much brand new, so it kind of holds more of a hyzer, which is nice. So that's a nice stack there. This green one was a one-off I found that is another 750. These are 750 M3s, and it's kind of in the perfect in-between zone, similar to this one, maybe even a little more flippy, but definitely not quite as flippy as this one. And if I'm just going to carry one mid-range, this is the one I'll take. It can do everything. Got a very nice ace with it, as you can see on the markings here. Over at Holston, hole 13, was about a 320-foot blind downhill pretty straight shot. It's pretty sweet. And then I got this Chains for Change 2017 400 blend. That's a bit more stable, a bit more gummy. I haven't really bagged it for any tournaments, but I've been practicing with it and I like the spot it fits in the bag. Let's go to some of the utility slots here. First of all, we've got Firebirds. So for Firebirds, we got an arsenal here. First of all, we get these two 2021, I believe they are, Sexton Firebirds. And these are pretty flippy. I really don't ever throw them on backhand. I don't really like how they sometimes flip. I always describe these as a little swoopy. If you get them turned, they get a big swoop before they come back. But for my forehand, being not as strong, these are kind of my go-tos here for that. So I always keep at least one in the bag. If it's a woods course and I need a lot of forehands and some different options, I'll probably carry two. Moving up, we got, this is an old semi-retired flat champion Firebird. I got this actually at my first tournament win, the Grateful J, back in 2016, up in Hendersonville, North Carolina. And it used to be extremely stable, and now it's beat up to the point where definitely not quite as straight as these, but it's a lot less stable than a normal flat Firebird. So sometimes I pull this out if I just want to have some kind of old mojo with me on the course. But mostly these are the two champion ones I'll be using. This is a new run I just got. It's pretty gummy. It's a Calvin Heimberg, like Rasta Pasta, I think they call it, Stam. Pretty flat, like I said, gummy in the middle, firm rim, and it's pretty stable. Definitely more stable than this one and those other two. And then this one is a factory second custom die one I had done, and it is absolutely incredibly stable. So I use that for any time that you just need to depend on some crazy stability, or maybe some crazy flex forehands, things like that. Maybe a roller forehand, or you know, you can get creative thumber if I need to. All right, so moving past Firebirds, I'll throw this one in. This is a one-off. This is the Tilt. I had to try this when I heard it was released. I wasn't too nuts about that first plastic they had. Never got into that, but once they released it in this premium plastic, I figured I could buy one and it would last forever. And that's kind of what I did, and it's definitely found a spot. Anytime it gets really windy, I like to use it for upshots, and definitely get some creative forehand flexes out of the woods, or even some backhand spiky shots. I'm still learning what it does. It's been in my bag probably about almost a year now, so I don't go to the course without it. I played one round at Music City without it in my bag, and I was in fingered cedar tree in such a way that I needed to throw a real flex shot with forehand to get out of it. And I threw the most stable Firebird I had and only barely got to 35 feet left. If I had thrown this, it definitely would have got all the way to the right towards the basket. So never play a tournament round without that disc. These ones I could have done in the field. Moving up another click in, I want to say speed, but distance wise in the fairway slot. We got the stags. I'm still throwing the stags. We got a very beat up 170, I think it is, VIP stag. I use this for rollers or just kind of standstill shots where I can't get much power on it. Then moving up a click in stability, we got this blue one. I try to keep this pretty frozen in time too, because this flies amazing at sea level for that roller shot, whereas this flies pretty much as this one would at sea level here up in Colorado. So I try not to use it too much, but if I do need to throw a lot of turnovers in a round, a lot of times I reach for this. And then we got pretty hooked on these the VIP Hybrid X tags. This is a great run. It's got a good dome on it, tremendous amount of glide, and you can really rip on these. This one is starting to season in, but at this altitude it's still quite stable for a stag. And then I'm bringing this one in as I can, but really there's no use for this one yet. It's a lot newer. So once this gets beat up to the point where they say that blue one is, then this one will probably come into the bag full time, and I won't need that blue one for a while unless I go to sea level. And then here's one I'm really excited to keep trying, especially as the summer months come. This is the Chameleon. I think it's VIP X tag, and it's very firm plastic. It's got a bit of a pop top, but very firm rim. So in the winter time I wasn't obsessed with how it felt. But the flight is just super stable for a stag, but it still pushes away for my other disc LTs, which is the PED. So yeah, I'm just excited to see where this goes. I've seen Matt Warren throw this as well, so it's super cool. So those are my stags. So, next step in the arsenal, we've been throwing my green set of PDs. I also have a blue set and a few various other colors, but I like to keep it consistent if I can to kind of feel confident reaching for everything, right? Let's get these in order of stability real quick. So my most understable PD, this flies almost like a stag, but with a lot less glide. I want to say this might be a second run, but I've had this thing forever. This is the first PD I ever got, which shit, it might have been 2013 or something like that. And yeah, this is great. Throw it anytime I just need to go straight, or maybe even throw it a flat, get a little to the right. Yeah, it's a great disc. Next up, we get a luster. This is part of the, I think it was what, the 10-year anniversary Reinvent Your Game or whatever stamp. But either way, the luster PDs, they're a little flat, and they aren't quite as stable. Well, they're pretty stable to start, but they beat in to be very good straight flyers that you can really rely on and shape and not get too glidey where you can get away from you. So this is probably my go-to. Very similar flight to that one is this third run that's beat in to be pretty flat, and just you can shape it just like that one. You'll see as I throw it. Then I got this new one from, shout out to Joe Revere. We traded a few discs, Team Innova stamp. I'm not sure the run. I was talking to someone, we were thinking maybe like 6th run. Yeah, pretty see-through. It's beat in to be flatter. It was a little domier when I first got it, but I'm really liking this for my stable PD needs, just below a Firebird. Then moving up in stability of the PDs, we get this third run. This one's just absolutely beautiful, and I try to keep it very fresh and pull it out for tournaments as need be, just when I'm feeling it. I don't throw it too far. I like to throw it for more control hyzer shots that are actually in the low 300s, maybe even high 200s, just because it is pretty stable. And then we actually got the blessing of getting some of these new unreleased PDs. I got 2 green and 2 blue, so being that I'm throwing my green set right now, we're rocking with this green one. Best way I can describe the plastic, it's like just how I think of that Jolly Rancher, like just meaning I used to advertise. Nice and gummy, but still firm in the rim, and this one has a little bit of a slight dome. It's actually 176 grams, and it is a very, very stable PD. Granted, I've only thrown it at 6,000 feet elevation, but I haven't seen too many this stable out of the box, and we'll show you that. That's all my PDs that I'm throwing this season. Moving up a click, what are we on? PD3s. So I got 2 of these Glow PD3s. This one I've been seasoning in for about 2 years or so. I originally bought this and I didn't really think I was going to find a use for it, just being I like throwing PD2s and PDs, and it's kind of right between those two. But I've actually found a love of it with being able to stretch my forehand for as far as maybe a normal forehand thrower can throw a Firebird. I can throw this about that far with great accuracy, a lot better than I could control my PD2s. And also on backhand spike hyzers and things like that, or just flat to get some skip to the left. It's just absolutely great. And I also absolutely love it in my lefty. So for throwing lefties, you can put as much power and torque on it, and you can trust that it's not going to turn at all, no matter what. And then I'm starting to bring a new one in finally. It took about 2 years to get this one beat up to the point where Ed Warren's bringing another one into the bag. And what's really cool is when I was playing the 303 Open the other week, Maverick Robertson noticed I was throwing these, and he actually has let me get another one off of the warehouse that matches this same run. So now I got a third. So maybe in 2 years' time I'll be pulling a third out. Now we're getting to distance drivers. First 3, no surprise because I mentioned it earlier, is PD2s. First of all, we got this old guy that has that custom die. He is sort of semi-retired, but I still pull them out more times than not, just because this gives my forehand a lot of reach and accuracy. Feels probably better than any other disc I've felt in forehand, just with how flat it is and just comfortable in that rim. And also I love it on backhands, just controlling distance shots. I don't probably stretch it ever over like 425 feet, but up into that distance, it's very, very accurate. So I love that. Then moving up, I just got this one. It's a 171 C-line. It's got a little more dome to it. Slight bubbles in the outer rim, but this one is replaced. I have another one, a 175 in green, that I'm kind of shelving for a while, because I think this one will beat up a little bit better to be that perfect in-between spot between the Luster PD2, which is next, which is just the most overstable PD2 you can really get, and then this PD2. Right now it's pretty much in the middle, but I look to cycle this down a little bit more to get it closer to that understability and then put that other one in I'm talking about. But right now these serve all my needs. I don't need too many PD2s in Colorado. Finally, we got destroyers. All right, that's about the order. So first things first, we got this pre-flight number destroyer that I just picked up for throwing in Colorado. It's nice to have something really old that you can get a consistent flip on when you release on hyzer, because a lot of the things I brought that used to do that just don't do that here at 6,000 feet. So this gives me that consistent hyzer flip flight that I'm looking for. I haven't thrown it at sea level yet. I don't suspect I even would, but this is definitely a hyzer flip machine out here. Very similarly, this is a AJ destroyer that I got pretty much new off of my girlfriend's cousin, and I thought it was going to be pretty stable, but it was flipping right off the first throw. I think it's mostly Vulcan actually, based on the shape of the disc here. But this was an amazing flyer when I first moved to Colorado, and I think I beat it up to the point where I don't quite trust it, but it's still in my stack of discs to reach for. Currently that blue destroyer is taking its spot because it's more consistently flipping and getting more glide. Then we got a mostly retired disc. This is the first ever destroyer I bought back in 2011. It's got a dynamic disc die on it, which I think is pretty sweet before they were a company. And the crazy part about this disc is I had lost it at Holston Creek probably in 2016 maybe, and 4 years later my friend Justin Gross, he shows up to a course. We're playing just a casual round, and he's kind of bragging about a disc he found at Played Against Sports in Charlotte, and he pulls it out and throws it, and as soon as it's in the air I see the pattern on the top. I say, no way, that is my disc. And sure enough, my phone number was sort of scrubbed out a little bit, but you can faintly see it. And he had purchased my disc from Boss for 4 years, which is just incredible to have it find its way back. So I made him a trade. I gave him something good to get it back. But yeah, anytime I can that I know I'm not going to lose it, like the 303 Open the other weekend, I pulled this out, and even being such an old champion destroyer, it still has plenty of stability, especially at this altitude, to just be very controllable and comfortable, forehand, backhand, anything. Then we have my 30th birthday present that my dad got me, or we kind of got together, is a purple AJ destroyer. And this one is more destroyer shaped. It's got a little bit of a pop top to it, and it's just almost squishy how it feels. It just really feels really nice. And it's been the absolute bomber at this elevation. Haven't thrown it at sea level yet. Kind of scared to, thinking it might flip a little too much, but you can put as much torque as you want into it in a calm situation, or maybe a slight tailwind, and you're just gonna get an amazing flight out of this guy. It's 171 grams. Then we got another gift from Joe Revere. This is a Team Innova stamped destroyer. It's got a little bit of a dome, not too much. And I took this actually to Oak Grove. I got to play the other day on our trip to Coachella, and it does flip a good bit at sea level, but it's still, it has kind of a swoopy flight to it, sort of like the Sextons, where you get that flip and it swoops, but it comes back in a big swoopy fashion. But out here at elevation, you can just mash on it and get maybe a baby bit of turn and really trust on that reliable hyzer finish and some good skipping motion too with that glide that this one does provide. Then moving forward, this one was my workhorse in Las Vegas. It was a disc that I trusted back in South Carolina, so I knew it would work great at, I think Las Vegas is 2,000 elevation. So it was a very, very stable destroyer, and I've been beating it in for the past year or two. It's a Deanne Carey stamped. I got it from her herself. And yeah, it's just one that I can really trust on. It's kind of the benchmark to what I want all my destroyers to be. It's one that you can throw as hard as you can and get no more than a -1 turn out of it. You don't want anything rolling into any wind situation. And the 303 Open, I was throwing this into 30, 40 mile per hour headwinds and getting a decent amount of turn, but it would always come back and stay in bounds for me. So that was great. But I'm trying to kind of freeze that one in time too, because I know how good it flies at sea level. Which brings me to these two new ones that I'm trying to season in. They're actually not as stable as I thought off the box, or out of the box rather. It's a 175 medium top to it. It's not too flat, not too domey, and it feels really comfortable. And I think it might just be a click more stable than that, but I haven't thrown it enough to truly know. But it's basically trying to be a replacement to that for the time being. And I have a twin to it that I can cycle in. So I like to break one in and then cycle in a new fresh one. Very similar to that, this one's a little poppy top. I got a new pack of 10 brand new destroyers, and these were two of my favorites right off the bat. And not too sure how it flies, just kind of working it in, but it feels really good in the hand, and I love the way it looks. So then we got a Calvin Heimberg Halo destroyer from, I think, 2020. I want to say this is a 2020 run. Nice pop top, and it's finally beating into the point where you can throw it. And at sea level, or I mean at elevation. At sea level, I got it beat in, and now it's finally to the point, I think, where it flies pretty good out here. Still a reliable, stable one though. A lot of glide on these pop top ones. In contrast to that, we got this one. I think it's a 2019 Calvin Heimberg, and this one is super flat and just incredibly stable. And I'm trying to season it in because I think it's just a little bit too stable to be too useful. Because at that point, I'd rather reach for a Champion PD2 and just really trust in that disc versus I just don't have as much trust in the hyzer on destroyers. So yeah, so that was a little sloppy. So I was looking and I forgot a few discs. So a little amendment. We've got these two, 165 and 175. I did the hug swirl. I would never sell these. I wouldn't condone that, but I really love the look and just wanted to put that on a few discs of mine. But these are pop top Vulcans, and wow, they fly far and they're quite stable, believe it or not. This blue one's finally beaten in to the point where I don't think I could trust it too much at sea level, but I can still trust it here at 6,000 feet. You can rip on it as hard as you can on hyzer and just get a long flight. And then I got a utility disc. This is a 170 gram Justin Gross special with the little guy here. I call this one Dodo Bird. I use it for rollers only. It's nice flat profile, and the Firestorm with the -4.4 I feel like helps you get to the ground on an angle, and then helps you keep a stable roll that's not going to burn out too early. I love it way more than the Flippy Destroyers and pretty much any other roller I've thrown. Get maximum distance with this. Also feels good throwing in the air, but try to keep it simple and just throw the Destroyers. What do I carry on a course? Carry a few different things. Got a spike ball, if you ever need to kind of roll out any injuries, anything like that. Always carry a change of socks. My feet tend to sweat, and it's nice to have a backup just to feel comfortable, a little refresher in the middle of the round. I usually have a stretch band, that's not in here. Up here we always got a rangefinder, Bushnell rangefinder. That's a great addition to my arsenal. Really enjoyed using that. Got a sunglasses holder, usually keep that with. But I usually keep sunglasses on at all times. Got the whale sack, purple whale sack, keep that. I've never had problems with grip. I like my hands actually being a little wet, but I just like the whale sack because it's kind of like a nice little thing to hold on to and give yourself some confidence, some good luck, things like that. So yeah, I think that about covers it. This is the Mando cart. I got it from a local builder in South Carolina, and I've really enjoyed it. Has some problems with it that I've kind of fixed up, and really the only big thing is it's bulky. So if there's any sort of hilly course or course with a lot of bumps, then it becomes a bit of a nuisance because it's a bit top heavy. But anytime we got grass like we're on now, it's just absolutely wonderful to have. You can hold more discs, and I love having more discs because I love throwing them. So that's great. I love this pouch I got. I can hook it on this bag, or I can hook it on this bag and kind of extend how many discs I can hold. Usually put some throwing putters in there or whatnot. And then we got the MVP stool, which I really like. The design on these, it kind of has the wrap around the pole technology so that you don't rip right through, right? Because that happened to me at my Innova stool. Don't like that. I always carry Nalgene. Got a Colorado stamped Nalgene, so that's pretty sweet. All right, I think that does it. Thanks for watching.